There's another article that I saw actually where it's talking about violent video games and the law needing to catch up with violent video games. I think it might be at the top actually, or maybe not. But yeah, there was an article about the law needed to catch up with violent video games because people are buying games over the internet that they're not old enough to get with their credit. They have access to credit cards and things like that. Write it down now. Haze, awesome. I can't find it right now, but yeah, write it down. You got to write things down, man. It's important to write things down. Can't seem to find it right now, but I was reading this article today about the law needs to catch on. What they're saying is that you can't, if a game is rated 18, you can't buy it over an account because if you're under 18, you can't buy it. Or at least you're not supposed to. I know you can in a lot of places they've said to you anyway, but legally speaking, you're not supposed to be able to buy it if you're under 18. Whereas if you are buying something, say for the PlayStation Store, you might have a credit card and then you just buying it downloads and you got access to a violent game. So what they're saying is that the law needs to catch up with that. Here's the thing about this, and this is what I found a bit ridiculous about the article, because they were talking about people being killed because somebody was influenced by a video game. And I'm not gonna, I know there's this whole debate about whether games influence people. I don't believe they do, but certainly I do accept that there are minds out there, there are people out there who are maybe a bit more susceptible because they might have mental issues and things along those lines. So it can happen. I'm not going to deny that. And certainly people like that should be, as much as possible, kept away from whether it's violent games or movies and so on. So I'm not trying to be unsympathetic to anybody who's been killed or any families that are suffering from murder or anything like that. That being said, I do feel there's a massive oversight here, because they're talking about how the law needs to catch up with the fact that people are buying games over the PlayStation Network or Steam, and it's so easy to up with Steam. The reality is that the law, maybe the law does need to catch up in some regards, sure, but it already exists now that to say that we could put those safeguards in. And what I mean by that is, if you have, first of all, to have a bank account in the UK, if you are under the age of 18, you have to have your parents, one of your parents' name on the account as a secondary account holder, which means as the parent, if your child has a bank account or any cards associated with that account, you should know what's going on. Right, you should know what's going on. You should know how much money is going into the account. You should know how much money they're spending, what they're spending on. You should know what's going on. So it seems to me that yes, maybe the law does need to catch up in certain regards, but that doesn't replace just being a parent. You know what I mean? And I'm sure, look, I'm not a parent, so I know that I'm sure there's loads of things about being a parent that I don't understand or I don't get and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, it just seems to my mind, my inexperienced mind, if you will, that if you have a bank account that your name is on because it has to be on there as a legal requirement, surely you know what's going into that account, what's coming out of that account. Surely you know if that child has a card and what they're spending it on, and if they're buying and if you're giving them pocket money, especially if they're like under 16 and they're not working, if you've given them pocket money, then surely you know what that's being spent on, or where, or at the very least where it's being spent. And if they're spending money on things that you don't know about, then it's time to be like, hey, what's going on here? You know what I mean? So I just feel like, yes, maybe the law does need to catch up in regards to certain loopholes that might be exploited, but at the same time, that doesn't change the fact that parents need to be parents, and it's not that the way the law works now is that it's not even that difficult. You should be able to do it just because it is already in place, and not maybe not directly, but it is already there. So it just seems like this all this scapegoats that goes on when it comes to video games, or just various things of the whole other thing. Oh, video games, they're the violence, that's the reason. Video games are violence, and that's the reason why it's like, no, look, you got people who have mental issues that are playing games, and I can see that is a problem, but you can't just keep blaming it on this thing and they say, oh, the law needs to change. Yeah, I agree the law needs to change in various areas and needs to catch up. I'm not even disagreeing with that, but to say it needs to change because of this specifically, when what you're really looking at is, and again, I'm not trying to be unsympathetic, but at the same time, what you're really looking at is, look, by law, your bank account requires the parents to be named on that account. Therefore, you should know what's going on. And no matter how much the law changes, whether it changes the catch or whether it doesn't, that doesn't take away the fact that you need to be a parent to your child. You need to be first and foremost on know what's going on in your child's life. You know what I mean? Or what they're doing, what they're spending, and it's there already. It's just there already to do it. Pay attention. You know what I mean? Pay attention. And look, I'm not trying to be judgmental, but I'm pretty sure, or at least not maybe not pretty sure, but I feel like there's maybe you wouldn't have the level of disconnect between children and, you know, reality if the parents were paying more attention. And that's not me trying to be disrespectful, that's not me trying to be rude or calling people out or anything, but you read like so many cases about, you know, people who go out on these like killing sprees and, you know, all that type of thing. And one of the things that they all have in common, not all certainly, but certainly a good majority in common, is neglect from their parents. So yeah, be a parent, man. You can't expect the government to raise your child, you know. So anyway, what do I know? I'm just some guy on the internet. Starting off with a damn rant. Well, not starting off. It was due. Anyway, what we got now?